Good morning, students. Yes, so today we are going to see new towns and traders. Okay, new towns. Last time we had seen what towns were already there in India, which were very important, and gradually how did they lost their importance. Okay, and then we had last time also seen how the British East India Company made a policy that they want their towns, or they want to settle in towns basically, which will serve all the purposes, like they are administrative also, commercial also, port also. So they shifted their attention from smaller ports to bigger cities. Remember that we had seen last time, which were the three examples I told you. They shifted their attention to Bombay, Calcutta, and yes, Madras. Okay. Chennai, as what is called today. In those days, it was called Madras. Okay. So now, before we open the textbook, we'll finish with this PPT, and then we will read on page 86. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so textiles and spices made in the Indian regions grow in popularity in European markets, and both European traders and rulers wanted to make their stronghold in India. So since textiles and spices that were available in our country were in huge demand in European markets, okay, the traders over there were very much interested in controlling the trade of India, and they wanted to have their stronghold in India. They thought coming and going is not going to help, it is not going to achieve the result. So they wanted such a place that they can settle there itself, and they can control that area, and they can control the trade of that area. Okay, so East India companies were established. Due to the naval power, they ousted local competitors. Now East India companies, okay, you have to remember that there were all the East India. Why it is referred to as East India? Because it lies to the east of Europe, right? So that is why it was, yeah, what which all East Indian companies were there? British East India Company, the Dutch East India Company, the Portuguese East India Company. Okay, all of them established themselves in India, and they had great naval power because they came from Europe. They were powerful nations. So what did they do? They decided ousted the local competitors. Means ousted means what? Ousted means they defeated. So they did not want any local competitions. Okay, they wanted themselves to be the masters of the entire trade. Are you getting it? Ultimately, the English reached out the
Yes,
furthest
ma'am.
and became the biggest political power. Now, even in India, Portuguese were there, Dutch were there, British were there, but it was the British, that is the English, who became the biggest political power. You know that the Britain ruled over India for almost 250 years, right? So they outnumbered everyone. They proved to be more powerful than all other East India companies, and they established themselves efficiently in India. If you, as a craftsman, receive an order from a said client, you had to produce as per that client's requirement. What will happen? Let's say, for example, okay, just imagine. We'll change the example. Imagine you are a very good painter, you're a very good artist, hmm, and I want certain art pieces to be made from you. You are understanding what is the situation? I want certain art pieces to be made from you. Okay, so I tell you what. See, people, I want something, a good portrait, which which shows nature in its different form. I tell you like that. So what each one of you will do? You are just given the theme of nature, right? What you will do?
You will
Each one
make
of
the
you,
art pieces according to the client's request.
you will make it according to the client's request. But what if the client first told you, okay, just make a nature piece? What you will do? See, there are 24 of us present in the class right now. What will happen if we are given the freedom, we are given the independence? We will do as per our creativity, right? It will turn out to be a better picture,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
some of you, correct, some of you may be good at using watercolors, some of you may be good at using crayons, some of you may be good at using pencil colors. And when only a theme is given to you, you will work better at it, right? Someone will draw mountains, someone may draw desert, someone may draw forest, someone may draw a landscape. It depends on your likes and dislikes and how creatively you're showing nature in that, and how creatively you're painting that. So it will differ, right, from people to people, and everyone will produce a good masterpiece because they have been given the freedom to be creative. They can do whatever they want. But here what happened, if again I'm telling you, like somebody was saying, client requirement, suppose I tell you, all 24 of you, listen, I want only a forest picture from you, okay, and I want it to be only in watercolors. Will all of you be able to produce the same result?
No, ma'am.
No, because some of you may
No,
not
ma'am.
be good at it, or some of you may think that okay, drawing forest is what, just drawing trees. Better than that, I draw sea waves, or drawing mountains is more creative. But drawing desert sand is more creative. Why this forest? Why we are given this kind of, um, you know, a narrow path? We should be given our creativity to do. So what will happen? What will happen is it could stifle your creativity. You cannot be creative any longer. You are just doing what the client wants. And that is what happened. As Europeans pre ordered their requirements, craftsmen could no longer sell to others or create new patterns. So what happens now? This East India Company, they knew that Indian cloth is in great demand in in European market. Indian weaving is in great demand. Indian embroidery is in great demand. Overall textiles were in great demand. So what did they tell the people? Okay, we want this color of cloth only, we want this painting only on it, or we want this embroidery only on it, or this weaving pattern only on it. So now what happened, the craftsmen lost their creativity. They had no scope of showing their creativity. They only had to do what the Europeans wanted them to do. Correct? As they established themselves in ports like Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras, they moved the artisans into smaller towns within cities called black towns. Now look at they came to India as traders. They started dictating on the craftsmen that okay, we want this kind of design only, we want that kind of work only. And what did they do once they themselves shifted to these bigger towns of Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras? You know that they are fair skinned, they are white people. They didn't want to stay with Indians. What did they tell the Indians? Okay, now you all move to smaller towns. Okay, in the outskirts of the cities, you all settle there, and in the main city, we will settle. Okay, so where these Indian people were sent to settle, Indian artisans were sent to settle, that was called as black towns. Okay, why black towns? Because they discriminated Indians against their skin color. You have studied that in on equality chapter, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, they differentiated
Yes,
Indians.
ma'am.
See, so right from old times this was started. So the British did not want to mix up with them. They said, okay, you do work for us, but you are staying in the black towns and you're doing it. See, okay. Then black towns were towns where the locals stayed. Locals means the Indians. Okay, and the foreign or the white invaders stayed in the better areas of the city. Ever wondered how the Europeans got to the Indian subcontinent in first place? Through land or by sea? Sea, correct. And who was the first person to set his leg on Indian soil?
Ma'am,
Who
Vasco
discovered?
da Gama?
They came by sea route, right? And Vasco da Gama also is the correct answer. He was a Portuguese sailor who took on the journey of finding the sea route by going around all the way to the southern tip of Africa. So he started from Portugal, that is Spain. Okay, he took a round till the Cape of Good Hope in the southern tip of Africa, and then from there he reached India. Okay, do you see this? He started from here. See, can you see Portugal here? He
Yes, ma'am.
started here. From here, his sea route started. So he took his voyage through the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, came, sorry, this is the returning route, this is the coming route. Here he came, this is the Cape of Good Hope where the ships used to halt. So from there he came all the way and he came and reached which part? This is which state of India? Kerala. Yes, Kerala. Okay, it was difficult journey to say the least. Not only did it take over a year, he lost half of his four ships and more than two-thirds of his 170 sailors. So it was a very difficult journey. See how long it was, right? Right from Europe till India, taking all the way longer route from Cape of Good Hope till here. So in the way he lost his ships. How can he lose the ship? What will be the reason? What are the dangers
Pirates
of
attack?
traveling? Dangers of
Pirates.
traveling on the ship are pirates is one. Then what? What else? Yes, the waves, natural disaster, storms. Correct. Icebergs can also be there. Yes, water animals also. Correct. So with all this disastrous and hazardous journey, by the time he reached India, he had almost lost half of his ships and he had also lost 170 of his sailors. Okay. So some other interesting facts. Have you heard of Christopher Columbus? What did he discover? He discovered the continent of West Indies and he thought that that was India. He actually went to West Indies, okay, but that time he was not sure and he thought where he reached was India. So that was not India, it was West Indies. And America was discovered by Amerigo Vespucci. Okay, Amerigo Vespucci was the first person who reached America. So now we'll open the textbook and we'll see what other information is given there.
New towns and traders. In the 16th and 17th centuries, European countries were searching for spices and textiles, which had become popular both in Europe and West Asia. The English, Dutch, and French formed East India companies in order to expand their commercial activities in the East. Initially, great Indian traders like Mullah Abdul Ghaffur and Virji Vora, who owned a large number of ships, competed with them. However, the European companies used their naval power to gain control of the sea trade and forced Indian traders to work as their agents. Ultimately, the English emerged as the most successful commercial and political power in the subcontinent.
The spurt in demand for goods like textile led to a great expansion of the crafts of spinning, weaving, bleaching, and dyeing, etc. With more people taking up them, Indian textile design became increasing refined. However, this period was also shown by the decline of the independence of craftspersons. They now began to work on a system of advance which incant that they had to be
Which meant that
meant that they had to weave cloth which has already promised to European agents wearers no longer had the
liberty
liberty of selling their own cloth or weaving had the liberty of selling their own cloth or weaving their own patterns. They had to reproduce the designs supplied by them by the company agents.
Okay, now stop. Okay, so can you explain me again? Because we've already seen this on the screen, right? On the PPT. Can you explain me this part again? What it
Yes.
means? Because this point is important from answer point of view. Okay, so which is what does it mean that when the Europeans began to enter India, when they began to establish themselves as traders, what happened?
Ma'am, the European had like ordered them to make up a particular design, and they had to weave according to the European agents, but they didn't have their own liberty of selling or making their
Yes.
own types of
Even
pattern
if
or product.
they made something on their own, they had no freedom of selling it. They could only sell their products to whom? To the British East India Company. Okay, is this clear? Okay, now can you read the 18th century?
The 18th century, the 18th century saw the rise of Bombay, Kolkata, and Madras, which are which are nodal cities today. Crafts and commerce underwent major changes as merchants and artisans were moved into black towns established by the European companies. Within these new cities, the blacks or native traders and craftsmen were confined here, while the white rulers occupied the superior residences of Fort St. George.
Saint George.
St. George in Madras of Fort St. William in Calcutta. The A story of craft and commerce in the 18th century will be taken up next year.
Okay. Now stop. So, which new cities came into prominence? The rise of Bombay and Madras, which are nodal cities. What are nodal cities? What do you mean by nodal city? Nodal cities means at nodes, important. Okay, at nodes. Hmm? And what were the new towns? Okay, so they moved the local traders or like local craftsmen, sorry, to outskirts of the main city. Okay, and those people started living in smaller towns, whereas the company people, that is the East India Company people or the white-skinned people or the British people, they started living in white towns. So one example is given here, that is Fort Saint George in Madras and Fort Saint William in Calcutta. So these were the fortified cities, towns that they built. Okay, they stayed there, whereas the Indian craftsmen were forced to stay in what towns? Black town.
Local town.
Yes,
Black
black
Town.
towns. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Now I will. Okay, the time is up. I'll continue next time. Bye.
If you like our videos, do share them and subscribe to our channel. If you want awesome quizzes, write to us. Keep watching and keep learning with Walnut.